to this, a potentially key visit to the White House. President Trump is set to meet behind closed doors with NATO Secretary General at the top of the hour. It comes as the president hints at a, quote, major statement on Russia and vents more frustration about Vladimir Putin.
We're going to see what we will see tomorrow, okay? We have the Secretary General. As you know, Europe has announced sanctions. But I am very disappointed with President Putin. And I thought he was somebody that meant what he said, and he'll talk so beautifully, and then he'll bomb people at night. We don't like that.
Joining us now is retired General Jack Keane, a Fox News senior strategic analyst. And, sir, what do you expect this major statement to be?
Well, I think we're looking at a major turning point in the war here. I mean, the president came in and wanted to establish peace, certainly between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine, after stumbling in the Oval Office, agreed to a ceasefire without any conditions. Putin has put that off for months. The president exhibited an enormous amount of patience. And largely because, when they're talking to each other, Putin talks nice. He talks about mutual economic benefit. He says, I'm as interested in peace as you are, Mr. President. But then Putin plays hard on the battlefield. The truth is, during that entire time, he escalated the war, particularly against civilians, as we have all seen. And the last few days have demonstrated the culmination of the scale and size of that escalation. 500-600 things flying in the sky, largely against civilian targets. So the president is frustrated. Putin wanted him to get frustrated. And he wanted the president to pull away, Dana, and stop supporting Ukraine just out of frustration and leave it alone. But that's not happening. While he achieved his goal in frustrating the president is not pulling away. He's actually going to turn the war around somewhat here, because he's going to do two things. One, he's going to increase military assistance, let the Europeans buy our weapon systems. They have the money to do it, and they're either going to let Ukraine buy them from them, or they're going to give them to Ukraine. So we're going to upgun Ukraine's capability. And believe me, Putin pays serious attention to battlefield effects, because that is where his head is. And we're also going to authorize the Senate and eventually the House, and the Europeans are going to do the same in terms of some pretty tough sanctions, particularly on those who are buying Russian oil. That's China, India, and Brazil. So both of these put together is kind of 1-2 punch here to go right at the problem here with Russia on the battlefield, and also their kind of revenue source that obviously is essential for them to keep their troops on the battlefield trained and well equipped. So major turning point in my judgment occurring as a result of the failed discussions with Putin.
And would the goal for Zelensky and his military be to push Russia back, or at least at first try to protect civilians from the onslaught from the Russians?
Yeah, all of that. I mean, what Zelensky has been doing is defending, and remarkably defending, against Russia's offensive operation, which has made some tactical gains. But, you and Bill have been putting up the map for the last 2 years, and there's not much change. So Ukraine has been conducting a remarkable, successful defense against a force that doubles them in size on the ground. And Putin has increased the targeting of civilians, which in of itself is a war crime. And he's increased the kidnapping of children and moving them into Russia, somewhere in the neighborhood of 20,000, which is just horrific when you think of something like that. So, yeah, why is he doing that and the focus on civilians? He wants to break the will of the Ukrainian people and undermine their support for the government and for the war, that they throw their hands up and say enough is enough. And that would force Zelensky to go make major concessions to the Russians. And that's not happening because the Ukrainian people are steadfast. They are still supporting Zelensky. Would they like to see a peace agreement and an end to the war? You betcha. But they're not going to do it on Russian terms.
Could I ask you one last question about this? Because as the president gets ready to make this announcement in the next hour, China and at least certainly North Korea has been helping Russia, at least with soldiers. China's involvement here, how does the president see that?
Well, China's involvement has been very comprehensive. Initially, I think it was not well understood how comprehensive it is. Short of providing an actual weapons platform like an artillery piece or a tank, they provide components, they provide the minerals, the chemicals, they are helping to finance it, obviously, by Russian oil. So they're a major financer, but what they do to assist them on a battlefield is dramatic. And, you know, staying on a battlefield successfully, Bill and Dana, is more than just the actual weapon system itself. You need everything, the logistical support. China is the #1 provider of comprehensive support to Russia, followed very closely by the Iranians, who established a drone factory and built it inside of Russia, and is helping to rain all of that terror on Ukrainian cities, as we've been seeing, particularly for the last several days.
All right, General Keane, thank you for setting that up for us. President Trump expected to be making this announcement in the 10 o'clock hour Eastern time. Thank you so much.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.